Yeah, it can be. You can do that right afterwards. All right, fantastic. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate you guys taking the time to join us. I'm Greg Neerman. I'm joined by Marianne Gallo. And Marianne, what are we doing up here? Facebook Live?
I think we lost a bet or something.
I think we did. Well, it was a sim that put us up to this.
A sim, our CMO, put us up to doing something live. So we're doing something live, guys, with the live studio audience.
And I want to call out Steve Superfly Fine. He's our crowd control. So when Steve tells you to applaud, whatever Steve tells you to do, you got to do. And Steve, we'd like you to guard the door so people don't leave either. So you've got two roles here. All right, so Marianne, we're doing Facebook Live.
We're doing Facebook Live. What's our show called?
It's Between Two Nerds. And who came up with Between Two Nerds?
I sure didn't. I sure didn't.
I don't know, but we just wrapped up our town hall.
We did.
When we talk about a little bit about what our town hall is and what we're doing now after town hall.
Yeah, so Between Two Nerds, whoever thought of that, maybe we need to have a performance review on air about that. But basically, we're doing a lot of cool stuff here at Hitachi, and we share a lot of that information, like most companies do, with a town hall with all of our employees. And for folks who are watching at home, you don't get to see that part, but we're doing an after show, kind of like Chris Hardwick does.
Yes.
Talking Dead without the zombies, or maybe there are zombies out there. But this is our after show with all of the live studio audience. We're going to talk about some of the things we talked about at Town Hall that we can share to the external public. And basically the reason why is we're doing a lot of really interesting, transformative things here at Hitachi, and we would like to share that more and more with the external audience and all of our customers, our partners, all our fanboys and fangirls out there. Hey, Mom. Whoever exists out there, that's why we're doing the show.
Absolutely. We want to show some of the personalities behind what's going on at Hitachi and some of the transformation that we're going through very publicly.
Yeah.
And it's also a reflection of the transformation that our own customers are going through as well.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of goodness to share with that. I want to drag up, I see a Sim over here. Sim, you're the cause of this. Get up here.
Give it up for Sim, guys.
Steve, you're already failing your applause sign.
He's falling down on the job.
All right, thanks.
It's a little late. It's a little late.
Thank you. All right.
Hey, nerds.
Hey, welcome to Between Two Nerds.
Sim, this was your idea to start off with. What were you thinking?
Yeah. Well, I was definitely thinking of having some better talent than this, but you'll do, I think.
I'll try to make it work.
Yeah.
Awkward, yes.
Awkward. An awkward sign. Sorry.
I don't know. What was I thinking? What are we doing?
Well, we're talking about this after Town Hall.
Yeah.
And one of the big things we talked about at Town Hall today was Next, which is our first ever user conference coming up in September.
Sure.
And you've been actively involved with that. Marianne, you've been driving the train on this. And so I guess at a high level, this is new. Give us a kind of an overview of Next and what some of our customers and partners that we're working with can expect when they come to Next.
Absolutely. So obviously all the customers that we work with and we talk to, even our partner community, we're in a time of rapid change. Things are transforming. What got us successful before a few years ago no longer matters anymore. So Next is our opportunity to share with a lot of our top customers the transformation, how to use data and information technology, operational technology that we do at Hitachi to lead the way and transform your business to win and compete better. And so that's all happening in September. So September 18th to the 20th in Las Vegas, Mandalay Bay. Registration is open now.
All right.
But it's an opportunity. We're going to have a lot of our customers there, a lot of our partner community there.
Is Steve going to be there?
Steve may be able to get there if he does his job with the applause sign.
Go ahead.
But you know, it's our first time doing a user conference, and it's really exciting. A lot of our customers say, we want to learn more about what's going on with Hitachi. Like, talk to us more about it. It's an opportunity to share our vision and strategy about our transformation as a company, share a lot about what our customers have been really successful at doing and the business outcomes they've been able to achieve. Press and analysts are also invited to share some of that to get the word out in terms of what we're doing with our customers. Really exciting stuff. We've got a women's leadership forum. We're doing a panel with Wall Street Journal, tons of stuff in Vegas in September.
Sim, what are you looking forward to, and what are you expecting out of this?
Yeah, I think, and Marianne and her team are doing all the heavy lifting, but I think it's a huge milestone in this transformation that we've been talking about, and so it's important for us, I think, to execute a lot of things in advance of that. getting our message to the market clarified and clean in time for that event. But I'm excited because effectively it's a coming out party of here at Hitachi. And I think a lot of people are super excited about that internally, but also externally. There's a little bit of anticipation. We've leaked it out a little bit in terms of what we intend to do.
Like you are now.
Yes. And so, yeah, that's true. We're not gonna share this, are we?
This is just Facebook Live.
This is kind of live.
This is just the 1,000 people in the audience.
No, it's Facebook Live.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, that's okay. That's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
It is.
So I'm super pumped about the fact that, yeah, let's tell the world about all the awesomeness that we've been working on over the last few months.
Well, and one of the key highlights that we're going to be bringing it to next is we're going to breakout sessions, and we've got a very strong customer focus at next. So a lot of folks will be able to not just talk to their industry peers, but actually see best use cases, and really good. When we talk about that transformation, when we talk about how we're perceived traditionally in the market as a traditional IT company, you're actually going to see a lot of IoT business and outcomes that are being developed and co-developed with some of our largest customers around the world.
Yeah, not to be, I guess, understated is the fact that it is a one Hitachi event.
Yes.
And so we want to showcase other technologies and other capabilities that we bring to bear as Hitachi that you, Mr. Customer, Mrs. Customer, can tap into. And so by working with our business, right, you can leverage all the other capabilities that Hitachi brings to bear. And what we want to showcase is some of the synergies that we're working on across the different businesses and the different technologies that we're developing across the different business units.
Right.
So I think it's a really important event for many reasons.
You talked about the breakouts, Greg, and Greg's driving a lot of the breakouts and a lot of really great.
Does that mean I'm accountable?
You're accountable. Okay. You got to deliver really good value content for our attendees. But what are some of the topics that people can check out in terms of breakouts?
So we've got breakouts that span enterprise IT, IoT. We've got customer success stories that we're focusing on. We've got tracks around financial services. So we've kind of like spread across the whole broad, not just our portfolio, but the customer experience. And I think that's the really important part of this, because I think for a lot of our customers, how they're leveraging Hitachi technologies is going to be different to each one.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they may just look at us as just a storage company or just a hyper-converged company. And the wealth of technology we're bringing to market as one Hitachi that you mentioned, Sim, really, this is going to, I think, really enlighten folks to where they traditionally think about us, but where we're going as well.
Talk about the different kinds of people that should attend next, right? Because you touched on it a little bit. I think for what people have known maybe HDS as in terms of what we're transforming into is going to be slightly different in terms of the different customers we're talking to within an organization. Talk to me about some of the profiles of people that will get value out of this event.
Sure. So it's really interesting. We've purposely built out the breakout tracks to appeal to not just a technical audience, which is our core audience we talk to, but a lot of it is around business value, business outcomes. What's the value of us engaging with Hitachi? What's the outcome of the activity? I was just with a customer a couple of weeks ago, a manufacturer, and a very traditional IT customer of Hitachi. But as a manufacturer, they've sensor data on their floor, their manufacturing process. So now we've expanded that engagement, not just to talk about the IT side of what's going on, but now we're talking about IoT, and they're looking solidly at what the business outcomes are.
Yeah.
So the challenge there for us is to talk about and get our customers to talk about the business outcomes that they're seeing leveraging our technology.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it is everything from the folks that look after the data center to the chief data officer to a line of business lead who just wants to get a better new service out the door. If they're a financial services company, they're a retail company, how do I use data to my competitive advantage? So that crosses a gamut, and we'll cover a lot of those topics at Next, and they'll hear from their peers who are doing some of those kind of leading edge things that they can learn from, so that's really exciting.
That's right. Hey, before we kick a Sim off the stage, just real quick, we just had town hall. Can you give us an update that we can share publicly? Can
you think about that for a second? Can you share publicly?
What's the mindset across the executive team right now as we're going through some of these changes?
Well, the mindset is definitely one of excitement, energy. I think a lot of us, and I don't think I just speak for my peers, but I think many people in the company, they live for this kind of a moment in their careers, which is to do a significant business transformation, which is really what we're talking about here. Has far-reaching and I think profound implications to our business across functions.
Yep.
And so there's natural, some anxiety. Can we do this at what pace and all that kind of stuff, which I think is natural. But in general, I think the excitement around the actual effort supersedes all of that by a mile.
That's right. And Mary Ann, you've talked quite a bit. How often in our lifetimes, in our careers, and I know this is kind of a little bit, Hitachi navel gazing here for a second.
Inside baseball stuff.
But you've mentioned how often do we get a chance to actually be a part of a company that's making some significant changes and a significant pivot?
Absolutely, and I think that kind of comes across when I interview new candidates to come and join us at the Hitachi family. It is a couple of things that really resonate. There's so many great companies to work for in the Valley. We're based in Silicon Valley for those who are watching at home. And there's a lot of really exciting perks and benefits, but what Hitachi can offer is the opportunity And what's unique about Hitachi is something we call a double bottom line. So obviously we're here to help our customers achieve great outcomes. But the other thing is within our Hitachi DNA is the opportunity to do really good in the world. And no other company can really say that because we make things like trains and MRI equipment and earth-moving equipment. And it runs a gamut in terms of things that affect a person's life. And if you bring all the things that we can do from an artificial intelligence perspective, robotics and all of that, and the opportunity it creates for the economy, looking after the planet. I know it may not be an in vogue thing to talk about sometimes, but we care about it. And the things that it does for a person. And I think that's really what resonates when I interview candidates to come and join us, because you don't get the opportunity to work for a company that can do that kind of stuff.
And what's really cool is people look at maybe our traditional competitors like Dell and HPE and others. We're not competing with them now. We're leapfrogging them. And that's the really exciting thing. We're carving out a space that they'll be
very,
in
very
5
different.
to 10 years from now. We're way ahead of the curve.
It's very different, right? I mean, Hitachi has all of the things. We make the things, and we make all of the software and all the operational management to make those things and make the world work better and improve people's lives. And that's like kind of mind-blowing. And I think especially when you talk about younger folks, myself not included, but younger folks, you can get a paycheck, you can get stock options, that's awesome. We're all here to provide for families, but we're also here with that bigger purpose in mind. And I think that, again, goes to, what Hitachi can provide. And all the stuff you'll hear about it next, another plug.
That's right,
Pause?
another plug. We're going to be plugging this a lot.
No?
We're gonna kick a sim off. So, Steve, keep the applause sign up.
Can I just hang out over there?
No, Steve.
All right.
Steve, we need you to get Sim off the stage. All right. Thank you, Sim. We want to bring up Donna Perlich. Donna, come on up.
Donna, come on up.
You guys should have told me. I think I have.
Okay.
So we don't.
That's good. You don't need the mic.
You should have told me it was nerd to nerd, because I'm like, this is not a nerd outfit.
No, but you're in between two nerds.
With
You're
IoT
between two nerds. It's between
and my
two
jeans.
nerds.
Oh, between
Yes.
two.
Yeah, we're
It's kind of like a nerd sandwich.
I
Nerd
do nerd
sandwich. So, Donna, you are Chief Product Officer at Pentaho, which is a Hitachi Group company. And you talked about at our town hall, which you guys all watched, but folks at home missed. But you talked about something that you talked about at a conference recently around the importance of big data in IoT. Can you tell a little bit about, for those who missed it?
Yeah, well,
that's about?
it's interesting. I was at a conference where there was thousands of people who basically look at data for a living, and my task was, how do we connect IoT to big data? And it was sort of like, well, actually, IoT is a data problem. It's all about data, whether it's coming from a sensor, or it's coming from your phone, or whatever a device might be. And so, the challenge is, how do we kind of bring that data together, whether it's from those machines and connect it with data that's from other sources. And that's where you start to get really cool business outcomes. And so that's something that Pentaho is really passionate about is, how do you start to think about what kinds of customer experiences can you bring about, what kinds of cost savings in terms of preventative maintenance. You bring AI into the picture and suddenly you have really fascinating looks at what is people behavior, what do they do? It's a little spooky, but it'll definitely change the world for the better, I think, in a lot of ways. So
yeah, I mean, we've had this conversation a lot. People get a little bit frightened about, AI in terms of just, is it going to replace things? Is it spooky? But it can, we talked a little bit. You shared an example about, driving on 280 and using data at 80 miles per hour.
Do you really drive 80 miles an hour?
on 280 at 5 in the morning?
5 in the morning, who doesn't do that? All right.
You have to. If there's another car on the road, they're going 85.
That's true.
But imagine getting that data and just being able to affect insurance rates. That'll help your household income, getting a better discount.
Yeah.
But that will create, a whole new economy of or ecosystem of opportunities that will create more jobs with the amount of data we're able to collect. But it's really about kind of bringing all the disparate kinds of data right together. And that's hard to do.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of challenges. I mean, I could step here and tell you that, whether it's Pentaho or Hitachi, that everybody's got it all figured out. But it's actually much bigger than any one company right now because there's so much involved, whether it's the networks that we don't really control necessarily, or 4G or 5G, whatever they end up being. And so there's going to be lots of interdependencies and a lot of challenges. But that's what's exciting about it to me. Back in big data early days, 2010, it was the same thing. People were just talking about Hadoop and talking about how we're going to get petabytes of data, and it's going to go on and on and on. And at the end of the day, what started to really be cool is when you started to see, the ability to create even better and better recommendation engines, for instance, because the massive amounts of data you could get into Hadoop and then orchestrate predictive models. That's where it started to get fascinating. And once the outcomes start kicking in and you start talking about real customers that have real business outcomes, then the technology just kind of sorts itself out over several years. That's a very simplified engineering type of, it doesn't necessarily sort itself out, but in a way it does, because we're applying the technology to real use cases as opposed to just connecting technology because it's interesting.
Yeah.
Donna, one of the things you talked about was the interoperability as one of the challenges, but the opportunity for outcome right there. One of the things you talked about is it needed to be open and accessible. You want to talk a little bit about that? And from a customer perspective, if they're looking at IoT solutions and IoT platforms, what's their mindset should be as far as what should their priority be as they look at the landscape? It's not a very big landscape right now. We're one of a handful of key players there. But what are some of those key things that they're looking for? Because I think you jumped onto something there with interoperability and being open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, one of the things that I'll give a little bit of a sneak peek into is we like to think about, how do I kind of go from the edge to an outcome, to a business outcome? And in talking with customers, it's really important to understand what's the challenge that they're facing. Is it that they're trying to improve in efficiency in manufacturing? Are they trying to better improve maintenance costs for a fleet of ships at sea, whatever it is. And then you start to narrow in on, well, where are the areas I have to focus in terms of my data and my infrastructure and what's going to need to come together. Then you can apply the technology to solve those individual problems. That helps the customer know, out of the 400 IoT platforms out there, do I need an IoT platform? Or for right now, do I need to have somebody help me integrate and blend different types of data and apply machine learning to it? But actually, it's very interesting for me to think about how I might connect other devices in the future. So I'm going to keep this an open environment because I know that that's coming. A lot of times.
And how the environment's evolving.
Yeah,
very
we'll
quickly.
talk about future proofing and the concept of open source technologies and APIs and keeping things open is really important in a new market because a lot of it is unknown. And so you have to be building it in such a way that you're going to have some flexibility in how you do that.
Steve, we need an applause sign. Before we wrap up.
Good job, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. Before we wrap.
My biggest fan.
Yes, he is a big fan too. Before we wrap up, one of the things that the Pentaho team's been doing is been growing pretty dramatically.
We have. Absolutely.
There's a lot of openings right now over at Pentaho. What's going on?
Yes, there's a plug for that. Well, if you think about what Pentaho's been focused on for the last 7 years, and the last couple of years as part of Hitachi and getting into the IoT space, we obviously need to expand our sales teams dramatically because there's a lot of opportunity in a new market. So definitely on the sales side, also on the product side, really cool stuff. We've got people who are, experienced in big data and learned big data and now get to start to sort out some of these IoT technologies and work on really interesting projects. So the opportunities in terms of product and sales and SE opportunities is huge. And if you're out there and you're interested in those things, you have a chance to work on stuff that isn't defined yet.
Yeah.
You haven't figured it out. Not to me, with an engineering mindset, that's always the coolest thing, right? What are the problems that haven't been solved yet? That's what I want to be working on. I don't want to be working on toasters or something. We've already figured it out.
Well, you don't want to work on Alexa?
No, I can't go there.
That's great.
So Donna, you're going to be at Next, and you're going to be speaking. What are you going to be talking about?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
I'm kidding.
If you have suggestions for Donna.
I'm kidding. It took me a minute. It was a little. No, I'm going to be talking with some of the other people, leaders at Hitachi on the product side about sort of what's this integrated roadmap look like and what's the strategy in terms of the components that are IoT and the data integration, et cetera. So it'll be great.
That's going to be a very well attended session. I think we're going to have to do a repeat on that one because a lot of feedback as we're talking to customers about Next, again, September 18th to 20th, Mandalay Bay, Las Vegas, is they want to know what this roadmap for Hitachi looks like. What are you guys working on? What can I expect from you? And so that's going to be a really cool, integrated from big data, analytics, infrastructure content, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Very good. Hey, before we wrap up, we want to give an opportunity if there's any questions here. We'll keep Donna up here, so feel free to ask Donna, Marianne, or myself any questions that you guys might have. Do we have any questions?
I have a question. Okay. So,
I'm glad you're here.
we have a question. Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Hi there.
Hi.
Donna, question. Do you see a new market in government as a potential for the products that you sell?
So the question is there a market in government for the solutions that we're bringing to market with Pentaho?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen that on the data side over the last several years. If you think about big data and the opportunity for the government to do a better job, whether it's looking at healthcare and how we manage Medicare. We've over the years been involved in some of that as things start to improve, and also looking ahead to things like cybersecurity, things like obviously keeping our country safe. All of those things involve data, right? And so those data challenges are the things that Pentaho and the broader Hitachi now with what we're bringing to the table in terms of content. It's really important. The security of data, the ability to blend data, all of that's really important. So absolutely. And then if you bring IoT into the picture, you start to think about safer cities and expanding that. Obviously, then you just scale out there from the kinds of things we could go after and help in terms of the government.
That's fantastic. Well, we're running out of time, so we're going to wrap up. Marianne, our first Between Two Nerds, let's ask Donna to give us a grade here.
Not to put you on the spot, but
she's just looking at watches.
Who do you report to? I'm like, job security. I'm kidding. I would say, because I always like to kind of set the bar and not say we got about a B. B+.
Opportunity to improve.
That's
Because
right.
we got to leave some room for improvement.
Yes.
Now, be honest,
Very good.
would it have been an A without a sim?
I actually like a sim brought the
Okay,
curve
just
up.
checking.
It brought the curve up a little bit. I mean, you had cool shoes on. Got like good jokes. And,
So Donna, you had an interesting slide before we wrap up. Sorry, Greg. On it that showed like a losing team and a winning team.
I did indeed. Yeah.
Did you hear that? Did
Go
you get
Warriors!
Yeah, we have to have a conversation about that.
Cleveland, FYI.
Yes, we
sorry.
had to have a conversation about that. Why'd you have to put a sad LeBron face up on the...
Crying LeBron.
Well,
Sorry.
yes. On a personal level, I have an extreme rivalry with my sister around LeBron and Stephen Curry, and so she stuck it to me for last year,
right?
Relentlessly. And so 2 days before I gave the DataWorks presentation, the Warriors won, and I was like,
There
so
you
I was
go.
waiting to put the images in the presentation.
Yay,
Yes.
Warriors!
So sorry, I'm really sorry.
I'm just
Better luck next
disgusted.
time. I know.
Disgusted.
Better luck next time.
So Greg and I have an ongoing bet, and he's been. He sent me something in 2015. I sent him something, and
So now I owe you a
You owe me
bottle of Lake Erie's finest wine, which is about $8 a bottle, but
I don't know if I
say
win or
Lake
lose in that
yes.
situation.
Anyway, very good. Well, thank you very much,
Thanks,
Donna.
yeah,
Thank you
thanks
for
for having
everybody
me.
Thanks, guys.
hanging out with us at Facebook
All right.
Live.
Thanks,
and we're going to
everybody.
do this again after the next town hall. Thank you. Big applause for Steve. Thank you, Steve.